The Silent Wife has been an absolutely chaotic ride. I have already done a previous podcast about this show, this C-drama, this melodramatic, messy boots of a show that was heavily compared to When the Phone Rings, which is my current favorite K-drama that I'm watching right now, that I'm also reviewing. I did not think past the first 4 episodes that I talked about in my previous podcast would get any nuttier, but it does. It gets so much crazier. And I have to unpack everything because I got up to episode 23. There's 24 episodes in total for this entire damn series. I'm almost done. And it has been just so out of pocket wild. Hi, I'm Monique. I am the host of Off by Purple Art podcast, where I talk to you about K-dramas and C-dramas and BTS and so much more. The so much more is going to be The Silent Wife once again. Oh, I don't even want to get into the synopsis of the show. Let me just put it this way. It is a show about a woman that is quote unquote mute, and she has her rich CEO husband who is basically been a domineering bully to her. He has amnesia. There was this big accident 3 years ago, and he thinks that a woman that is currently in a coma in the hospital is his actual first love, and that this woman that he is relentlessly bullying, who he claims is his secretary and only will refer to her as his secretary, is actually his wife. Yeah. It's already nuts. Yeah. But it did have some juicy scenes in it. And I'm obviously going to be going into some hella spoilers for this. So if you want to watch this chaotic mess, by all means, carry on. And then come back here and we debrief together and make sense of all this madness. As I said, I have since watched many more episodes of this crazy show. A lot has happened. Yeah, for sure. First of all, I can't believe how long he got away with bullying her. It wasn't until like episode 15 in this show where I start to see the female lead start to get some backbone. One thing I cannot stand is multiple episodes of a character getting trampled on. And this man was far too nasty to her for far too damn long in this show for me to actively root for this couple. So I'm going to be honest with you, for the vast majority of the episodes that I've watched, I've been actively rooting against the main couple. There's a second male lead in this show that is an old childhood friend, and I was actually rooting for them. And funny enough, this show actually teased the idea of the two of them together, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. The woman that I mentioned that was in a coma in the hospital that the male lead believes to be his first love. So interesting what they did with this character. She comes out of this coma of 3 years after she saved his life in this big old car wreck, this big old car accident, and she immediately sets to scheming. I don't understand how you go through a life traumatic event as such and not only regain full physicality, full mobility of your body, full control of your trunk and all limbs. There's absolutely nothing wrong with your vocal cords, and you're able to fully articulate yourself and speak as if nothing happened for these past 3 years. But yes, the magic of television. I understand I'm watching a soap opera here, and events are very exaggerated, and it's supposed to be melodramatic. I understand. This show, I don't think we're supposed to take that seriously. We're just supposed to kind of turn your brains off and have some fun. But that doesn't mean that I still can't be infuriated, okay? I can watch stuff and I can critique it, okay? Okay. She comes back and she's full on scheming. We find out that she may not be so nice. She actually might be quite evil, which is not great. I hate seeing women having to be paired off against each other and them fighting over a man. And this man in particular does not deserve any women whatsoever. He is just the biggest red flag, just a POS. I don't understand it. She has been scheming ever since these two have gotten together, and she has loved him from afar, but he's never seen it for her like that. He's only ever had eyes for Mrs. Song, the main female lead character, and it's pissed this woman off to no end. So she has been laid up in the hospital for 3 years. He's had this amnesia, thinking that she's his first love, and has been forcing Mrs. Song to give this woman blood transfusions. Why she was the only person on this God's green earth that had the blood type exactly that this woman needed, and that she had to bleed herself dry. Whatever. The imagination, just going wild. She wakes up, and one of the weirdest schemes that she comes up with is getting to be invited to a big soiree party where everybody in the family is attending and a bunch of other big business people are attending. And this is supposed to be the grand entrance to show the entire audience that, hey, I'm alive. She's in this wheelchair and she's like, oh, darling, my love. And he leaves the female lead high and dry in the midst of this party. And they're all outside for some reason, beside an Olympic-sized pool. He runs over to her, and then his sister, or some deranged harpy, comes out of nowhere and pushes the female lead, or arranges someone to push the female lead into this giant-ass Olympic swimming pool. And she's fighting for her life in this pool while he's fawning over this woman that just woken out of this 3-year coma, who's in the wheelchair, who's made her grand presentation as being alive. And I was like, this show is just so deranged. And I kept watching. And this woman became even more of an antagonist. For some weird reason, she wants the female lead to be her now caregiver. You know, she has this fainting spell. It's a whole big to-do thing. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it. She ends up back in the hospital again. The male lead is completely fawning over her. And he's like, oh my gosh, she just got out of this coma. I had to do everything humanly possible to make her life easy. She can no longer have any more suffering. Whatever. So she's back in the hospital, and she requests that the female lead, Mrs. Song, becomes her caregiver. She begrudgingly does this, and she makes her some food and brings it over to the hospital. The sister's there. She's bitching at her, and they're being a little snitty and whatever. And then the female lead is like, feed me, to the female lead. Female lead does. And she's like, this is actually lacking some spices. You know, this is really bland. You know, you could be doing better. What the hell have you been up to all these years? You couldn't get some cooking skills? And she whips out a literal jar of peanut butter. Takes a massive glob of peanut butter, smears it all over the food that the female lead has brought, and shoves it down her throat. Now, what do you think happened next, audience? She goes in anaphylactic shock. This woman just got out of a coma, mind you, of 3 years. Life was in peril. Completely unconscious. Has recently regained consciousness. And decides to give herself something that she's allergic to frame the female lead. And who would you think would show up conveniently as this is going down? The male lead. The male lead sees all this happening, and who do you think he takes the blame out on? Of course, Mrs. Song, the female lead. This leads us down another path of some BS and some fighting back and forth, and I am really at my wit's end with this show, and I'm like, there's no way this could get any worse. This is absolutely stupid on every level. I hate it here. But you know what I did, audience? I kept watching, and let me tell you, it gets so much more asinine. Can I tell you that at one point, the female lead actually grows some ovaries and actually faces off with the male lead 15 episodes in. I would say 15, 16 episodes in. She's like, I've had it with this shit. I've had it with you and your stupid glasses and your stupid face. I've had it with the melodramatic masterpiece theater that's going on here. You and this other broad, you can have each other. Get the hell out of my face. I've had enough. Right? He's fighting back and forth, and he's like, no, you're my property. You're not going anywhere. I'm going to continue to have my cake and eat it too. I'm still going to have feelings for this other woman who is low-key crazy, and I can't see it because I'm a dumbass. But yeah, I'm still going to mess around with you. I'm going to still sleep with you. And do they ever? They get down and dirty multiple times. I shake my head and I'm like, this is so damn messy. And I still continue to watch. Then, here comes some major spoilers, even more so. Her father comes back into the picture. Now, her father is a big piece, and the reason why she was putting up with a lot of this nonsense outside of, true love and whatever, and wishing that the male lead would regain his memories, is the fact that he has been promising her that he will take care of the father if she continues in this really screwed up arrangement of, giving blood to the other one and da 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 da. The father comes back in the picture in the show and is killed off. Yeah, like almost within the same episode. And guess who's behind it? Yeah. The evil broad that was in the coma for 3 years. That sets up a whole other train reaction of events. Then, in what I thought was probably one of the best scenes of the show, the female lead finally has this massive showdown between this evil woman, the evil sister, and the male lead. She is now at the point of where she wants nothing to do with him and is asking for a divorce. And as a bombshell final moment says, I want a divorce. As by the way, I'm having your baby. And I'm going to get all this money. I'm going to get my bag today. And you're going to sit and stew. And I was so happy because I, with my silly self, thought that maybe, just maybe, the show would give me what I want and they actually would head towards divorce. But no, alas, that did not happen. And then we have another 3 to 4 episodes of crazy foolishness where the woman actually has a miscarriage because the male lead's evil brother, who happens to be like a complete wimp and is in love with the evil second female lead who was in a coma. It's a whole thing. He pushes her off a table for the 10th dinner party that happens in this show. Her entire hand is cut up, but somehow in this fall she has a miscarriage. And then some way, somehow she ends up having amnesia. Yeah. And the show just continues to descend into madness after that. I have watched up into episode 23. And folks, I really don't know if I want to watch the ending of it. Part of me wants to because I've made it this far into the madness and I should see it through to the end. And I still have to wait, for when the phone rings. But dear God, this show is crazy. If you really want a super duper messy soap opera, this is definitely the show for you. I cannot honestly say that this is anywhere on the tier of When the Phone Rings. But if you really want to turn your brain off and you want to have a good time laughing, by all means, give this show a shot. If you love this show and genuinely and in all sincerity, I'm so sorry. But me, I can't take it seriously. And I don't think we're supposed to. I think as an audience, we're supposed to laugh at it. It does get very highly melodramatic. And I know this is a show full of so much tropes and cliches that a lot of viewers would absolutely love and gravitate towards because it's very familiar. But to me, it was almost to the point where it was just too ludicrous. And it was almost too bad that it wasn't even bordering on it's so bad it's good territory. It's bad that it's infuriating me. But I can't look away, like a car accident. So I'm at the final episode, and I genuinely don't know if I'm going to come back and do another review on it or give my final thoughts. Maybe I will. Maybe the show will surprise me and they will end up divorced. But that's probably a pipe dream. You let me know your thoughts. Have you checked out The Silent Wife? What do you think about it? Do you think it deserves to be compared to When the Phone Rings? Because, the whole female lead, quote unquote, is mute, but actually really isn't mute and actually can speak. The whole cold, domineering male lead, who you don't think really loves and cares for the female lead, but secretly deep down inside he does. Even though I'm much more convinced of that and When the Phone Rings. In this show, I just think he's an ass. I genuinely think he's a bully. I think he's nasty. I think he deserves absolutely nothing. I think he deserves to have all his riches stripped from him, everyone leaving him, and then him just being a sad puppy in the corner. Genuinely, I'm like, to hell with him. But that's my thoughts. You let me know your thoughts down below if the spirit moves you. If you're listening to the audio version of the podcast via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, feel free to leave your commentary down below as well. This show, it is something.